Warning, what you're about to hear was intended to make you laugh. A lot. If you listen to the show and feel inspired, then that's awesome. But if you're easily offended or just can't take a joke, you should turn this off right now. Otherwise, turn this shit up and hang on. Welcome to the Get Up. All right, how'd you like that new?
I do. I like
new beat.
that.
Yeah,
it's like some soft jams.
Right. That's like my vibe though.
So like last season, I did 12 episodes, and I considered it season 1.
Right.
So I've been going through beats that my buddy gave me a long time ago, and just kind of like, all right, what are the new theme songs going to be, plus the old ones? Mm-hmm. Redid the intro a little bit, changed it around. But now I'm actually trying to be a little more structured with
notes,
an opening. So welcome to the Get Up, a podcast about pursuing your passions while having a laugh. Geez. I'm your host, JP. Don't forget to follow the Get Up on Instagram and Twitter at The Get Up Show. Follow, like, and comment on Facebook at The Get Up Show Podcast. And as always, check out www.thegetupshow.com.
I thought you forgot who you were.
Right. I'm JP. I'm the host. Yeah. Follow me.
Follow me. Yeah. You can listen to the Get Up on all your favorite platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, and even YouTube. Joining me today is Delano Bridges and Justin
Davenport.
Awesome. First, that's me dropping my notebook. Delano, what you got going on? Plug your stuff.
Oh man, just building the bridges. As always, the network idea consulting that I kind of work on the side. Follow it on Instagram, building the bridges for you. Same thing at Gmail. If you need any inquiries, reach out.
Justin, you got any side hustles at all?
Lately, I've been working on a lot of mental health awareness stuff.
That's awesome.
Probably a different episode.
No, but that would be a great episode, actually.
I don't know if you watch some of the short movies and things, but I've been doing a lot of trainings and things for where I work.
Okay. All right. But you know what? I mean, I think that's obviously that's a bigger issue. Yeah. That definitely could be another topic. So
especially with the way culture is kind of shifting towards that in regards to awareness.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like people are also abusing it.
Oh yeah. No, I can definitely agree. I've got, and again, probably for a different time, like a pretty serious, long history with mental health, and we've talked about it before, different things like that. Members of my family, and one of the things I like to do is promote awareness, talk to different people who are going through different situations, see if I can talk to them about getting help, talk to their families about how to deal with that, and different things like that. One of the things that most people don't realize is a lot of people with mental health issues go a decade before they seek help. Getting there a little faster can prevent a lot of tragedies.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And it's sad because, like, you see, now there's a topic, right? We'll talk about it later. But just seeing like so many famous musicians and artists and stuff, succumbing to that it's pretty tragic, and it's scary, especially when you have family members that go through that stuff.
Right.
I've got my own stories too.
Same thing with my family.
But the reason that we're here today is to talk about something else, right? That's it's been pretty prevalent, and I think it's a very interesting scenario, but which is basically separating the artist from the art. So we've seen recently a lot like R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, Roman Polanski has been one that's been out there for a long time.
Then you call 45 years a long time.
Yeah, and then like Woody Allen, but it's really interesting to see now, like even like with Michael Jackson, like the allegations and the rumors and stuff have been out there for forever, right? Since I was a kid, and then now all of a sudden a documentary comes out and it's we're boycotting his music, we're pulling it off, and then it creates like this divide. Do you separate that person from the art that they created? So do you just stop listening to that music? Do you stop watching those movies, or do you still appreciate the art that was created? Especially because a lot of art, doesn't it come out of some of the best artists are people that are tortured, that have some kind of inner conflict, and
angst and madness,
right? and maybe that their art is what keeps them from turning to those demons or whatever they're battling. So I think it's a really, really interesting scenario. Now, that's why I wanted to see what people's takes are, and what do we do going forward? Like, how should this be treated?
For myself, like, just going off on a little bit, I can see this in a hypocritical kind of way for myself, because if I don't have a horse in the game, if it doesn't affect me personally, sometimes I honestly can easily separate the art from the artist. Like, I don't, they say don't meet your idols, because most of the time your disappointment is just going to be huge. I try to put that in the back of my head, and even in that situation, which is far less than some of these other things, I want to make sure that art is separate in my mind. However, saying that I'm hypocritical is when I am involved. I probably shouldn't put names on that, but
I mean,
I can't put names on. But there is a very, very famous local musician who is still huge in. Nationally, worldwide, everywhere else. I was very good friends with an ex of his and a lot of people that were involved, and he pretty much fit every sociopathic category that you could possibly think of. And the things that didn't make the news were 10 times worse than anything you could possibly imagine. So that person I don't listen to in any way, because it affected somebody I cared about. So I'm going to admit my hypocrite on that one. But I think that I have to separate the art from the artist on something when I'm not involved, because in the other situation, it's probably the same way I'd feel about, a friend or neighbor too, just because I was personally involved in it.
Right. I was going to actually, I literally was going to say the same thing. I think it's situational.
Doesn't Delano have such a great radio voice?
Yeah, I'm just the shitty nasally sounding guy over here. I know hilarious.
I think it's situational, like he said. Like, if you don't have like his vernacular or a horse in the race, it's kind of hard to not separate it, because you have no interest in it. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect anything that's going on. And like you said, when it does affect you, when it's something you directly deal with, like using R. Kelly, because I feel like R. Kelly is almost like the thrust of this conversation, because in recent years, you kind of seen him be the focal point of this separating the art from the artist. And if you were a person that had somebody, as a predator for your kids or something like that, or if you had kids and felt passionate about it, I can understand that. But for the most part, people don't. Which is why cancel culture, like I told you before, is a problem. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with that, because I think people are just immediately ready to cancel things. It's almost like guilty before innocent, without even having facts. Like with the Michael Jackson thing, those kids settled. They settled. They came out and said it was a lie. And now you're coming back and saying, okay, no, it actually wasn't a lie. Here's what really happened. Our parents took the money. Our parents told us to. So it's like, it's too many conflicting stories. I've heard 4 or 5 different stories from the same group of people. So at that point, and the thing is, those are the only 2 people that have ever came out. And I feel like at this time is the time, per se, and it's going to sound bad, to capitalize on the cancel culture.
But but it hasn't that happened with like the Me Too and everything. I mean,
everything
it's been
is Me Too.
crazy.
With everything. Because the thing is there a time limit on your actions too? Like, for me, that's another thing that's hard with this, the cancel culture and the going back when there's certain things. And what's the one that was in the news real recently? I think it was the America song for Philadelphia, and she had sang in the 20s, like, racist songs in the 20s.
I did hear
and
that
then
one.
then they like covered up her statue, they tore everything down, they did all these other things. I'm not defending that. Like, in today's eyesight, it's complete and utter garbage. But can I look at everything in the past with today's eyesight?
You can't
and judge it.
That's the problem.
Like,
Can't you expect that people are going to learn or change and not be
and
like that was like the
evolve.
James Gunn thing, right, with Guardians of the Galaxy?
Right.
I mean, you know,
it was years ago.
It was years ago. Something that he already apologized for, and then someone that he had pissed off dug it up and brought it up again, and then all of a sudden it was like Disney's firing him. Oh, you're not directing the movie anymore.
Thing with Kevin Hart and was it Oscars that we
saw?
Yeah. It's the same thing.
It's
Look,
digging through the past just to cause a problem.
Exactly. What's the dude's name? Not getting on a movie tangent that directed The Breakfast Club. I can't think of his name right now.
John Hughes.
Right. So they it's a thing now to where all his movies are being scrutinized for having sexism, having all of these different things and layers in it for like bullying. And I think it was one. What's the 16 Candles? I think that's what it was. Yeah. There was something about that movie. I can't remember. Like if like a guy was on I watched a movie debate or whatever like that. And he was breaking out all the issues that are wrong with that movie. And that movie should never existed. And like you're saying, we're looking at it from this evolved mindset.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
from where we're at today.
From where we are today, instead of looking at it for what it was right then.
And sometimes I wonder, is it? I mean, now I'm going way off, but like, is it an evolved mindset, or is it less evolved? Because you shut yourself down to anything you don't believe in, and there's no discussion, there's no debate. The way that today's society works is, if you don't agree with what I have to say, then I hate you.
It's too reactionary.
I don't disagree
it's very
with
reactionary.
you. I don't disagree. I don't offer an opposing view. No, I put all the information on the internet so people can harass you and your family. I follow you to your workplace. I follow you to a restaurant and stand there over your table. I harass you until you want to kill yourself.
Right.
Like, it's just crazy. All right, I'm talking to the mic. I guess I'm too far away.
But that goes back to what we were talking about last time with social media. Social media has gave every idiot a microphone. And now it's like I have my own platform. And I
here
can
we
just
are
say,
with microphones.
Right, on a platform. and we can just say whatever we want to say and get people to follow and react. Like you said, like, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to follow your pages. I'm going to go to the restaurant. What happened to just, I don't agree with this. I don't want to be bothered with this. I'm going to remove myself from it. You can cut that aspect of that out. Like, going back to the whole origin of the conversation, separating art from the artist, you don't have to deal with that artist. Like, if you are, quote unquote, so against something, turn it off. You don't have to listen. You don't have to follow. And that was the benefit of the 80s or the 70s and those back in the day things. We were now all connected. I couldn't know what was going on in London. I didn't know what was going on in
Unless
Arkansas.
you were looking for it.
Right.
And I didn't even say that then, because you would have to really look. You know what I mean?
I mean, you'd have to hunt it down.
But, you don't have to go there and visit there.
It was like a network kind of thing. Like, to get into these small little chips of society, which now, because it makes great airplay, because it makes great news, like, they take these 20 people, these 20 asinine people, and then just blow it up like this is a huge worldwide problem. And it's not. And really, it's just 20 people. But then you got 40,000 people to get upset about that, and you just cause a huge problem.
I think there's definitely been some benefits that have come out recently from everything, especially like if you
Hollywood,
want like the Hollywood stuff going on, like the predation, all that, like that, definitely has been going on. There's people that have been saying it for years, to see that it's like something's happening there, but do we go back, like you said about like the older movies? I watch movies with my kids, and they're like, Dad, this is PG. Yeah, this was PG when I was a kid, and there's smoking and cursing and partial nudity and all kinds of crazy stuff, and my kids are bewildered when they see that.
Woman in Red was the first time I ever saw a bush on my life. Like, that was a PG-13, man. And I will tell you, like, Kelly LeBrock has a special place in my heart. I can tell you that right now. Like, I remember sitting there watching it on HBO, and then all of a sudden, I was just like, holy shit, like, that was just a pussy that just went across the screen right there. Like, I didn't even realize what happened. Like, I mean, it was the same thing as, like, somebody come running into the room with a wiffle ball bat and hit me. Like, I can't believe what I just saw. And then I guarantee, I don't know if anybody remembers the old HBO guides that were in there. Like, I circled every time that damn thing was on.
I remember the TV guide that used to come with the newspaper. Like, you could get and then you could actually buy the TV guide book. Well, had, how fucking crazy is that? That's before you could press a button and see what's on every. You used to get a guide, and I'd be like, oh, Friday at 4 is this show coming on I want to watch.
Well, you do remember. You remember when it first came on and they had that guide that just slowly like
scrolled all the stations.
So if you happen to blink away at the
you
wrong
miss it, you have to wait.
And then you're just like,
and you gotta wait for every single one to come back.
You gotta wait for everything to come back, and you're just like, I really just wanted to know when Nickelodeon was on. Like, what is going on? Like, you're just so mad.
That's hilarious. But that even speaks to the evolution, though. You know what I'm saying? It speaks to the growth. So that's like again, going back using a terrible analogy, but looking back, like, you guys use TV guides? Like, how dare you? Like, you know how many trees were like, stop it. Like, that was the nature of the beast. That was the nature of life at that time.
That was that time, right?
You know what I mean? So, like, how can we look at it through this? And I do, like you said, it's a less mature mind because, again, there's no conversation about it. Because when you really get to the core, and, like, I feel like we're echoing on a lot of things we've talked about in the podcast before. When you get to the core of why people are really mad, it ain't really nothing. It's not really anything. I'm upset. Why? Oh, I'm upset because they're upset. It doesn't really matter to you. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have any effect on what you have going on. So
you see these people all the time that just, I think a lot of people get upset just to be upset.
Right.
Like, you drive down the road and there's somebody with a sign in their front yard that's like, you know, this house respects all these things and all this other stuff, and we're going to do all these, and, you know, they're stealing political signs out of people's front yards because they disagree with them either which way.
Right.
You know, damaging different things. Like,
Which actually,
there's no room for discussion.
It's actually kind of going back to the freedom of speech. Like, we're actually robbing the freedom of speech, like, which is what we're quote unquote built upon. You know what I mean? Like,
trying to protect.
Like, we're trying to protect it, which we're doing a terrible job at. We're doing a terrible job at
well,
that.
I think we just protect what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Which
and
is crazy.
that's the thing. And if you don't want to hear it, then all of a sudden it doesn't apply. And you're like, that makes no logical sense in my mind whatsoever.
Is it almost the same mindset tying movies to music with the AP, or is it the APR that actually rates the movies and rates the music or whatever like that? Who determines what's PG, like you said? Who determines what's rated R? I feel like we're trying to take that same filter and put it on life.
Oh, the motion picture.
Whatever it is. Like, we're trying to put that same filter on life and say, no, I have to protect you from this. This isn't right. Instead of letting people have their own opinion. Like, everything is opinion based on perspective and life and all of that. We're not going to have the same perspective. Like, we're all different ages, different races. We come from different backgrounds. We have different life experiences. Like, just to echo back what you were talking about earlier, I would never be able to have a conversation or disagree about mental health the way you probably would. You know what I mean? Because you've had different experiences that I have. My experiences were very minimal. So who am I to say, oh, you don't agree with me? I don't agree with this. That's it. But that's cancel culture. That's literally, it's no intelligent thought driving it. It's all emotional and reactionary and attention driven.
I think another part of it too is a sense of belonging. I think some people will definitely, they want to be a part of something, and they will pick whatever resonates with them and just buy in full force, you know, and sometimes, and you'll see, like, there are instances where I don't know what I was thinking for years. I supported this and now I don't because I woke up and it was, you know, I thought it was stupid, but at the time that was just the group that you belong to. And we see people always kind of segregate themselves into these different groups, and then they look for the other counter views to just flip out about.
Like, I'll admit, like, there's so many things in the history of my life that I thought was cool or said at one time, and honestly, it was the dumbest shit in the entire world.
Right.
But you grow up and you learn,
growth,
and you're allowed to do these things. I think that, you know, it makes me extremely sad as the father of a 19-year-old kid that he's not allowed to make those mistakes at all. Like, he can't make a mistake for his entire life. When I was growing up, the things that I did, there's not all these records of them and things like that, and it's not going to destroy my life. Like, as a kid right now, you can get on Twitter at 17 and destroy your life,
which is crazy.
Like, with a 17-year-old
and that's when you're probably
you
at your most impulsive and just don't understand the repercussions yet because you haven't had those experiences, and now the repercussions are so severe that, like you said, you could just destroy your life.
Or even forward. A bad joke. It could have been just a bad joke. It happens.
And that bad joke could not get any reaction right now, but 20 years from now, you're a CEO or something, and it's like, oh, well, look at this bad joke from when he was 17.
Right. And it has this bearing on who you are. Like, again, like, even, and that's the thing.
I thought about that coming in here. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I thought about that coming in here, and I'm like, well, depending on what I say today, I'm destroying my entire political career. Like, this is going to be somewhere. I guess my presidency's over already. Like, and you're just...
Well, I don't know. If you see what's going on right now.
At this point, anybody could be president.
Well, it's just a popularity contest nowadays. Like, it's just going to be like The Rock against somebody else next time.
But again, trying to toe that group line that you're a part of. Whatever group you've decided to join, some people just will toe that line no matter what, and that's scary too.
Well, that's the thing, you know, and that's one of the sad things about politics now is there's no there's nobody. Well, I can't say there's nobody. There's a very, very, very small populace of politicians, whether Democrat or Republican, that have their own mindset. Like, they all follow the little party lines and they do these little things, and you're just like, you can't be somebody who mixes it up. I can't be a Republican who's pro gun but pro-choice.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't do that. Like, because I've just ruined myself, and then vice versa. You can't be the opposite and be a Democrat. Like, that, it's just one of those things. Like, you should allow people to actually express opinions. Like, I want to vote. I want to vote on a person. I told my son years ago when he was a little kid, I go, if you ever walk in and vote a straight ticket, understand I'm going to haunt you for the rest of your life. Like, I go, that's the dumbest fucking thing you can do in your entire life. I'm like, just don't do that. Go in there, know who you're voting for. If you don't know who the person is, don't vote on them because they have a snappy name. Like, just leave it blank, man.
And then next time,
investigate. Oh yeah,
you can't do that no more.
Yep, because they won't do it.
Really?
Yeah, they'll reject your ticket if you. I can't remember what the term was called, but you can't leave anything undone. You have to vote on everything.
Oh, that's annoying.
I can't remember what it was called. They just passed that this last go around with
I didn't even know that.
Yep.
You got me on a new thing.
Yep. And it was a really, really big deal because it went from
Michigan,
people just vote
New
for
York,
president Jersey,
a lot of times.
Yeah, and I think Florida was a really big, and Atlanta.
Yep.
Florida was a really big one because they were actually rejecting the tickets because a lot of people weren't aware that they passed it because they passed it,
right.
And a lot of people weren't aware that because they passed it the year before. And apparently we voted on it, you know what I mean? But I don't recall voting on that. I don't remember what ballot or what petition or whatever that was. But anyway, and the thing is, the machine doesn't reject your ticket, though. It doesn't, like, spit it back out and say,
right, and say, something's incomplete.
You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't count the vote.
It just doesn't count it.
Which is crazy because you would think that it would just reject.
And there should be signs everywhere.
Yeah, signs everywhere. Or they should be telling you have to do this, like when they're signing you in. But that also was a problem with the Florida thing. When they were signing people in, the people were not, or no, I'm sorry, not Florida, Jersey. People were not aware of these new updated things. So they were telling people, even down to the ID, because Jersey was exact vesting for some reason. Like, if your ID didn't match exactly where you lived at and things of that nature that matched the ballot thing on your sheet, you couldn't vote. Like, they were sending people home and stuff like that. It was a fiasco. It was a super fiasco, and it's just totally not a political conversation we should be having, I guess, right now. But it's just it pisses me off.
I mean, everything just goes off.
It does. It does. It just makes me so upset.
This is important.
It makes me so upset because it robs people the ability to think. It robs people of the ability to just be free.
You should be able to think. Like, my whole point of telling him,
and you shouldn't have to make a decision on something you don't know about.
Exactly.
Like, if you don't know what that is, that section is about, or what that law or whatever it is that you're voting on, if you don't know what one part is about, you shouldn't be forced to make a choice.
Yeah.
Because then that's an an uninformed choice where you don't know the repercussions. Maybe that's the one.
I mean, the only
that
thing they
breaks
give
it
a moderate explanation on is like the propositions for the most part, and that's about it. And half the time, those explanations are shaky at best.
How crazy is it that Kevin Hart couldn't host an award show because of an old tweet talking about his son growing up to be gay or something,
which was hilarious.
But our president is on camera talking about grabbing girls by the pussy because he's famous,
right? But
he's president.
So, well, for me personally, this is my thought.
I have a different one. Go for it.
Yeah, because mine is not that. For the life of me, like I really have thought, and it baffles me why he has not been hit with a RICO case yet. I have no idea why, because a RICO case is literally when you are doing something, convict them, like investigate them. There's enough evidence to get a RICO on him right now.
Organized crime.
Yes, like right now, there's enough circumstantial information and circumstantial evidence to do. I have no idea why that hasn't happened. That's the most baffling thing.
But isn't it that a sitting president can't be prosecuted or something like that?
I think you can, but the thing is
it'd have to be once he wasn't president.
I think a lot of it would right now.
Which makes no sense either.
I personally think the Democrats are playing right into his hand. Like, with all this investigations, with all the things that are going on, it looks, even if it's not, like what I'm saying, I'm not saying that there's nothing, there is no fire with the smoke.
Yeah.
But
when
you just keep poking and keep poking, you're just reinforcing all those people that think that he is, like, just being attacked because of it.
Well, you know what I mean? What's crazy is,
like, what would be better in my mind as admittedly a Democrat leaning person. Like, I'm pretty much an independent. I lean Democratic for the most part because, socially and morally, I don't think we should be legislating shit. I lean more to a conservative fiscal kind of thing. So I don't even know why the hell I broke all that out. But
it's necessary because it forces people to think. Because if I'm listening to this and I don't know, I'll research or I'll think about that, and that makes sense.
Yeah, because I just want. That's why I look into every single person, because I feel like voting for is an important act, and I go, okay, what do I like about this person and what do I not? And I vote different people for different things, because if somebody to me seems like they're independently thinking and will go on their own accord without something, like, I'm going to lean towards your direction. I'm going to be like, I like that person. Mm-hmm. They've got some thought. That's what I'm looking for in a leader. I want somebody who's going to embrace that name, like a leader about stuff, like a leader of men. Do some things.
Right. Yeah.
And women.
Lead.
Like, do something. Don't just follow. Don't kowtow. Don't do this whole thing, and don't just do nonsense. But, if I think right now, probably the best thing for them would be to just say, all right, we got 2 years to come up with an actual platform, to do some things, to do all these politicians. And yeah, we don't like him, but it's for the presidency. Like, what are you going to do for the country? Don't come to me with a giant proclamation that the entire basis of your running platform is just because you want to replace this one person. What are you going to do when you get there? And I think that's what's getting left out, and that's what he's trying to do. Like, he's just messing with it. Like, they're getting played, man.
It's crazy too. Like, the fact that they're like, subpoenas. Nah, just not going to show up. Nope, don't go.
Yeah. But it's silly. It's almost like, and I again don't want to do this, but to those people that are supporting that, it looks like double jeopardy. Like, if you go to court for something and you don't get convicted for it, like, and the mayor's like, well, I don't like that he didn't get convicted. Can he drag you back to court to do it again? Like, he can't. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, sometimes you just got to suck it up and say, man, like,
But is it because no actual legal proceedings took place that they can just keep poking and poking and poking because nothing was actually, like...
Well, I mean, they went where they could go.
Well,
with,
sure,
like, a grand jury
but there's
and things like that.
Well, but there's, like, as far as, like, the whole Mueller thing, and there's a bunch of... I think there was, like, 10 criminal or things that he passed on to other people to take care of.
Yeah.
Where he didn't pursue them himself, but he passed on the recommendations, I think, for other lawsuits and stuff. It's just crazy.
It's just a weird thing.
But again, like, even that, like...
I want to see somebody do something for our government instead of just being just like pitting them against each other right now. Like, we've got so many things that are wrong right now.
Well,
like,
it's too us against them, like, constantly, and everything that happens, and that even goes back to
we've got health issues, we've got people all over the country suffering. There's all these other things. Like, we do have some wins that are going on right now, but there's a lot of things that we're not winning at, and I want to see people focus on that.
Yeah.
Right now, just stop making these personal battles, these personal fights.
But even like to Delano's point, like, that's what it feels like, right? It turns into this personal battle, even when it comes down to the music or the movies, the art and the creation of it, and like what that person did. I mean, if it directly affected me or someone that I know or someone, that's in my life, yeah, I can understand not listening, not partaking in that person's creativity. But for me to be, for like Michael Jackson, no. You know what? As a parent, if he really did those things, yeah, that's disgusting. And if he was continuously really doing those things, that's disgusting. But does that make me not appreciate what he's done for music and who he, the music and what he created?
And
no.
You could go back, like, I know people are... God, I don't want to sit around and defend Michael Jackson because that can get me in a whole lot of crap. It's just like I love Michael Jackson. Like, I love the music that he put out. I love all those different things. Sometimes I feel like it's a little bit of a cash grab right now.
Right.
Could be anything, civil, books, whatever. Like, I'm not saying that nothing happened with these people. I think their parents are shitty ass parents.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, talking about accountability.
I'm never letting my kid in that situation.
If,
I'm going to let my kid go.
Man asks it, like,
come
can
spend the
your
night.
kid spend the night with me in my bed? Like, I don't.
Not even in the bed,
paid
just
off.
spend the night, period.
But they got paid off.
But
like the parents did.
So the thing about
But that's you sold your kid.
Yeah.
Pretty much, exactly. It's almost like prostitution. But again, no charge for what happened to
parents should have charges.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Negligence, period. Especially if we're looking at hindsight, you could charge them now if you're going to do all that.
Should be charged.
But I think so. Separating
you
art,
can't separate those two.
Yeah, you can. But separating art from life, I think again, it robs the people from being a person. People are still people, right?
Yep.
Everybody has their faults and failures, but you still get to go do your job.
Mm-hmm.
Like every one of us has issues that somebody probably wouldn't agree with, and we still get to go work.
Yep.
So everybody, if that's the case, if we're gonna make a straight line,
we're just not famous enough to get picked in.
Right, we're not. But I'm just saying, like even like the person that's tweeting that's so angry, let's look at your life. Let's investigate your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's to say that you're the upstanding person? Like, why are you the moral compass police?
That's happening too. It's like when they open up a door on their own thing.
Yeah. It's just, it's hard for me. Like, I feel like for me, it's easy to separate the person from the person because in my mind, the way I categorize it and compartmentalize it, that's work. This is their job. They just happen to sing. They happen to make movies. Right. That's just what it is. Again, it's different when you have a personal horse in a race, but even still, you can separate it because, like, it's like the person, like when I'm entertaining or being paid to entertain or whatever like that. That's my job. That's what I come to do, like working a 9 to 5. So I just look at it in a little bit of different, aspect. Again, I do agree with the Michael Jackson thing as a cash grab, but with the R. Kelly thing, well, we have documented evidence about it. We had documented evidence in the early 2000s. Yeah. Where was all of the outrageous
we had evidence
thing?
22 years ago.
Right. When he married Aaliyah, like as a kid, I thought that was weird. You know what I mean? And I wasn't even super socially informed as now. I was a kid. And I was like, that's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? Isn't she like 15? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I thought that was weird because again, we didn't grow up and see anything like that. Right. But it's like, okay, cool, whatever. That's what's happening.
What? This blows my mind. But did you know, like, Michigan is one of them. We have one of the highest rates of children getting married under 18. Yep.
I've never even heard
I don't know. I never looked into it.
Yeah. Well, I've read a couple articles on it, but across the country, like it still happens around the world. Kids.
Michigan?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But Michigan.
How does that even work?
Because of different ethnicities and different cultures.
Yeah.
So literally kids are getting married when they're like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
I did
13,
see something
14.
on that one. Yeah,
and they're getting married to like 30 and 40-year-old guys.
It's like arranged
It's arranged marriages, yeah.
Yeah, it's arranged marriages.
And it falls under religion. So then there's like loopholes in it. But it's still like these kids are getting their childhoods, robbed because of this older culture that they're still following. And it's crazy. So like the Aaliyah thing, like, yeah, that's nuts. But then finding out that there's all these other ones going on, like, yeah, and that Michigan, because of the cultures that live here, we're one of the higher rated states. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I never knew that. But then that goes back to when you bring religion into it, do you think that would change a person's perspective on it in regards to this is that person's religious belief?
Right.
On the surface, it would be easy to say yes, right? But in real life, if somebody found out about that, they'd probably be pissed off, and it'd be a social media thing about that too.
I'm not a big one on that, like, just because I'm going to claim this is my religion, I can do something crazy. Like, I think there's got to be some limits on that. Like, I don't mind if you're saying, I'm into Rastafarianism, like, I got to smoke some pot. All right, cool, I'll go with that. But if you're just like, well, I'm into this, so I got to marry 3 5-year-old girls. Like, no.
Yeah.
No, the answer is no. It's just that simple, man. Like,
I definitely agree.
Like, people come up with crazy ass stuff like every other day that they're well, this is just part of my faith, and now all of a sudden they just get away with it. And I take that to court, and freedom of religion. Just certain things are just silly.
Which goes back to a conversation we had before. A lot of the, what do I want to say? I don't want to just broad stroke by saying laws because there's statutes. You know what I'm saying? State statutes. A lot of things need to be revisited.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to, again, hindsight. If we're looking at life now, and you want to kind of, I'm sorry, tapping on the table, like, and kind of look at it.
It's all right. He's been pounding the table. So
So it's like, why can't we revisit some of these laws?
So
that we
whenever
thought were
anybody
good?
hears that, like, I'm sorry, I'm very animated.
So I think that's something that needs to happen, but I don't think you're ever going to get people on the same page to agree about it. Because you need to look at, like, again, separation of church and state should happen, but to what degree? For that same example, I need to marry 3 5-year-old kids, or I'm arranging marriages from a 7-year-old daughter with a 30-year-old man. That's like, what are the terms of this? When is she going to actually leave the house? You know what I mean? Like, is it 12? It's weird to me, and I think that needs to be revisited. I don't think, again, the separation of church and state is important. That needs to happen because you don't want the state kind of getting involved where people do take their faith seriously with the moral compass. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not
because I don't want
immorally
you
wrong,
to legislate based on your specific religion.
right? Because it'll be Hitler all over again.
Yeah,
you know
because
what I
it's
mean?
not going to apply to, other people. And if they don't choose to follow your religion, then that's fine. But you shouldn't be able to get away with crimes because of
No,
your
I
religion.
agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think that's something that needs to be revisited, even down to the amendments, like Bill of Rights, all of those things. Everything
for
needs
sure.
to be revisited.
The Constitution, like,
as a whole.
I mean, it's funny because you hear that brought up all the time, especially the Second Amendment, right? Like gun rights and stuff. Like, what is so wrong with having smarter gun laws to make sure that just not everybody is going and getting a gun?
It's because it's not necessary.
Right. And come on, let's be real. If the government and the military,
Which
if
they're
they
listening
all
right
if
now.
they all decided to martial law and all the soldiers were on board with it, there's not a damn thing we're going to be able to do with all your stockpiled guns in your basement. I'm sorry. They have
Like,
jets
it's gonna
with
make
bombs
it a
and
lot-
tanks.
Yeah, but they're not going to bomb the suburbs, man. Like, it's just not going to
But
happen.
I'm saying, like, but
you
that's
can't
the
get
whole
rid of,
argument.
You can't get rid of the people living there.
No.
It would have to be...
But that's
to
the
be
whole
realistic,
argument, though, with
like,
the guns.
Well,
Like,
I mean, it is. Like, it's because the way that the country was founded, like...
Well,
I
sure.
actually am. The way that the country was founded, like, we came under a tyrannical government
Right.
that then needed to be overthrown.
and
The reason we
and
have
again-
consistently lost numerous wars in the past 30, 40 years has because it's been a door-to-door war because we can't carpet bomb everything like we did in World War II. And those were just armed citizens, and we lost. Like, it is one of those things. It's incredibly difficult if you don't know what's behind each and every door. So it's a mental check. It's kind of like the Cold War. So, you think of the Cold War and you're just like, well, I could go door to door and do all that, but that's going to be one hell of a pain in the ass.
Oh, sure.
So I'm not going to do that. Like, let's figure out if we can do something different. Because, I mean, personally, like, I admit, like, that's one of the things, like, when I say I lean Democratic, is not on gun rights. Because gun rights, like, I shit you not, I would be happy if there was people with fully automatic machine guns on the bus every day. Like, because I would know that ain't shit going down. Because if somebody walks in there and there's 20 dudes with AKs on there, they're going to be like, I'm gonna fucking hold off that mug until tomorrow.
but even then, right?
But
some of the things that we see, the mass shootings that we're seeing, those people that are doing those mass shootings usually end up killing themselves. So if someone's gonna shoot them, that fear of dying isn't really there because they plan on taking themselves out anyway.
All right, now I'm gonna get into something that's let me throw out something controversial really quick, and because I will say that mass shootings are, in my mind, 100% the fault of the media. And the reason being these people want to be iconized. Right. Like, I can tell you the name Dylan Klebold from mass shootings 25 years ago because it was all over the news all the time. And when you're a kid, you're a loner. You feel like everything in the world is against you. And what do you want to be? You want to go out a hero. You want to go out the big dog that everybody's going to remember for all of time. And what's the easiest way to do that? Like, I'm not going to kill myself because no one will remember me. Like, no one's going to remember tomorrow. But if I go make this big deal, I'm going to be in books, I'm going to be in pictures, I'm going to be everywhere. If you can take away that and just say some asshole kid every time you're going to say his name, like, just say that. Like, that's the thing. From now on, asshole kid. Like, asshole kid shot up a bunch of people. We don't know who he is. We put him in an unmarked grave, and we're never talking about it again because he's dead. That would go away. In my mind, it would, except in some bullying scenarios, but then it would be targeted.
I agree with you. I do think it's a fault of the media. The media is responsible for a lot with that, even down to separation of art. You know what I'm saying? Artists, Tupac and Biggie with that. They amplify everything. Whatever's going to
They try to cause a problem.
I agree. But I don't think it's controversial, by the way. I think that's very documented. Anybody that disagrees with that, just go watch the Zodiac movie. That is a prime example of that. Like, because serial killers are the same thing.
It's controversial with people who are just like, no, if we take away everything, that'll be the way to fix it.
That doesn't fix anything. Again, it robs you for the ability to think for yourself. Yeah, Smarter Guns laws does not rob you of your ability to have freedom with guns, but it actually makes you be more qualified to have them. Everybody doesn't necessarily need to have one. Going back to the mental things, stuff like that, even social anxiety things like that lead to that. Because we need to deal with your core and your why. Why do you feel like you're alone? Or what happened in your life to get you to that point? Let's talk those things out. And maybe then you might not feel like I need to go do X, Y, and Z to be remembered. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't think saying this asshole kid is going to solve that, though. That's what I do. I disagree with that.
I get what he's saying. Yeah, taking away the notoriety.
Taking away the notoriety, taking away the acknowledgement of who it is. Like it's just one of those things, like taking away that I'm becoming something. And, I think it was last year there was one and the kid live streamed it on Facebook Live or something like that. And he was just like, everybody's going to remember me. Everybody's going to do this thing, and that's exactly what the whole point was, is just trying to make him into a big dog.
Now, in the mass shootings, because those make the news more and more, what scares me more, and I'm not against having guns. I've got a shotgun. I don't have like a whole arsenal or anything. I'm for smarter ways in determining who should have one or not, because there was one week, and I get mad at Megan for this all the time, my girlfriend, because multiple times she flips out on people and she does like the long honk or this, and I'm like, look, you gotta stop. You just gotta stop. Like, you can't honk at someone now without being worried about getting shot, because I keep seeing these stories. I mean, a whole family got smoked in their driveway because they accidentally cut someone off and they didn't even know it. And this guy rolls up and shoots them and kills the daughter in the car, and I think shot the husband and one of the other kids. The mom, I think, was the only one that didn't get hit. Another lady at the grocery store just made a comment that someone was in the 12 items or less line, that she had more than 12 items. She got shot at in the parking lot.
That's not funny.
Like, it's no. I mean, it's
completely ridiculous. But that's crazy.
But that's what scares me. Is that it's getting to that point.
Towards mental health and stress management or gun control?
I think no, but I think it's a whole combination of those things, right? Like, if we were going to say, hey, you don't have to take any kind of mental health thing to get a gun, and then we got people like this that are just shooting people because they get pissed off because someone honked at them. I mean, that's ridiculous. So I think it's a combination of both.
I'm not against more testing and things like that. I'm just against banning things.
But I don't think it needs to be banned. Just like you said, smarter. I really think, like you said, like it's a combination of both. We need to bridge those gaps.
Take a gun safety class, like when I was a kid. There's nothing wrong with it.
What's the book? Strength Fighters. Is it Strength Fighters? What's that test that's in Strength Fighters? Like, it's like the Gallup's test for building. Man, I can't think of what that's called. Somebody's gonna kill me when they hear this. But it's a test that like shows you what kind of strengths you have to work with the team, right? You can develop that same thing from a psychological perspective for people who are adequate to kind of be emotionally stable for guns. Because I could take the safety class, but if I'm not good with stress management and I'm on the road and I'm late dealing with anxiety because I'm running behind and I think I'm going to lose my job or whatever, and this person cuts me off, and in my mind I'm thinking I could have made it to wherever I needed to be at, I'm going to gun this person. It's stuff like that I agree. Right. Case in point, in regards to anger management, I was getting on the freeway one day at 75 in Dix, right, and it's like a U like that you have to get on, and I'm doing the U, and I'm going the normal course of speed, going this normal pace of traffic, right, and this guy is driving really extremely slow. I'm daydreaming. When I drive, I'm like elsewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean, right? Stuff. Think about all kind of things I got to do, right? Once we get on the freeway, the freeway merges. I go past him. I didn't cut him off. He still had a whole bunch of room, and as I'm past him, he literally rolls the window down and throws a bottle at my car. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that type of thing. Now, going back to that, it's a twofold problem, because let's say, for example, I responded. I do carry. Right. You know what I'm saying? I could have responded in a lot of plethora of different ways, right? Or on the flip side of that, he could have just shot me just because whatever he was feeling that day. Like, he felt like I don't even know what he felt like I did, because there was nothing there. You know what I mean? So I don't even know. And he had his whole family in his car.
Right.
going back to like not thinking and anxiety, like if I would have shot your car up, your whole family would have been going. I would have been justified in the sense that you attacked me. You know what I'm saying? And I laughed because I just was in such a shock. Like, yo, you are really mad about something that has nothing to do with me. And what's crazy is like,
and it could have been he thought you were on his ass too close. It could have been he thought you cut him off. But it could have been so many different things, and that's the scary part. Is that, and again, like the ease, and it's not necessarily super easy, but it's ridiculously easy for the types of problems that we're starting to see happening. And like those ones, like throwing a bottle at someone or shooting someone because they made a comment, like that isn't the media thing trying to get recognition. No, that's just people can't handle shit. I think people are a little bit different
than they used to be. And
it's
kind of like it's a self-important culture. And again, I'm going to reflect on days of yore that I effing miss. Is just like I missed before the internet. I missed before. I really miss when my opinion didn't mean shit. And the reason being is that people get so self-important, and anybody who's ever worked with the public or on the phones or whatever it may be, you're all out there. You know what I'm talking about. Is a person comes in and they do that. Like barbecue Becky moment, you know, you got that 40-year-old white woman who's just like, well, I'll be. And then like it's just like all hell breaks loose because somebody didn't kowtow to her immediately right now, and she's the most important person in that room. And the reason is it's sometimes because I can destroy a restaurant by putting a Yelp review on there that's half-ass. And it's just me. Like I can get a TV show pulled off the air if I complain loud enough. And I really liked it when it was like 51% of people got to say no or to hell with you. And that's what I kind of like. Yeah. You know, I just sort of really like, and I think people feel really self-important right now. And so they feel like if they're on the road or they're walking on the sidewalk or they're doing this thing, like they feel like they're the most important person out there and everybody needs to get out of their way. Otherwise they need to be taken out of their way.
Right. But that's our own fault, frustrating. Right? Like, I mean, that's like, even like celebrities, I don't give a shit what some celebrities' political leaning is, how they feel about whatever topic.
No, I'm going to separate it.
I'm sorry. If you say that you believe the Earth is flat, yeah, I'm going to think you're an idiot.
Okay, yeah, that's a winner right there. Like,
but it happens, right?
You do lose points, like immediately.
So, like, but we've had tabloid magazines, like recently the royal baby that was just born. I don't give a shit about some royal. But because there's so many people... I
feel like that was actually less news than it was in the 80s. Like, the royal baby kind of stuff. Dude.
It seemed pretty big.
Well, I mean, it's big just because, like, people...
I can't go on my news app without seeing a whole bunch of, it's a boy,
Isn't his wife mixed or...
Yeah.
Like, I think
that's it's definitely the first, but let me not like full-fledged, but the first... I guess she would be African American still, even though she moved over there. Yeah. But she
would.
Like, I mean, I guess, like, you know, but it's just like,
let me ask you, there's an interesting one. What do they call an African Britain?
I think it's still African.
Is it just African?
Just probably. I don't think they get as narrow on it. I think you're just probably, African or black.
Probably. Or just African descent or something to that effect. I don't know. But let me ask this question. Why do you think people, in your opinion, are so, what's the word that you use, self-indulge or like feel like they're self-important? Where do you think that stems from?
I think everybody feels like they're really self-important nowadays. Like they have this thing that that they are above any and everybody else. It's like a very few. Like my decision is ahead of anyone and everyone else. My importance is above anything and everyone else. Like it's not the people that self-sacrifice anymore, like, you know, and I think that's, trying to think back, like, so let me say my grandparents or something like that, you know, they, in the really cliche Tom Brokaw, like, greatest generation thing, you know, where we had World War II and everybody emptied out their house of every metal object that they had and drove their cars to the scrapyards and everything because just for the greater good, because they're like, hey, I'm not doing that. Like, this is for the protection of everyone, so I want you to melt down everything I own and make a gun out of it so we can protect my family, my neighbors, and everybody else. Mm-hmm. we moved on to like the Vietnam generation where these people didn't even make a choice. Usually they were just from low income areas and couldn't come up with a way to get out of the draft. And they come back and get spit on and called baby murderers just because somebody disagreed with what was going on over there that they were ordered to do.
Right.
It's not like they were just like, oh man, I can't wait to get over there and kill some babies. Like, I'm pretty sure no one ever said that.
Right.
Like, and so they do that same thing and they keep moving it on now. Like, just like it keeps moving and moving and moving. Like, because I believe or think something else, my opinion is more valuable than that person's.
So what do you think, like what I mean by, like, what do you think? Where do you think the origin of that is from? Like, even if it's individual, how does a person get to that point? Because you, like, I love the way that you just described that whole historical standpoint. Like at World War II, we're collective, we're together in the sense of this is for the greater good, we're a team. So what kind of broke away from that team mindset to make me feel like I'm above everything else as an individual? And I think that even settled before social media.
Sociologists come in here and talk to me about it. Like it'd be fantastic.
I think
a lot of it had to do with post World War II. It was a whole different thing. Like you got into more of a capitalist society because it was an absolutely great time in America post World War II. If you fit the right profile, obviously.
Right.
Like let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But also, there was opportunity in other areas, too. You know, even if you were African American down south, that's when everybody was moving up here to, like, the Detroit area because you could get a middle-class job and have, you know, a wife and a home and a new car and a picket fence.
The American dream.
You could have that whole American dream because it was fine. Then we went and But everybody had that. Like, that's when they were building houses faster than they could keep up with it. Everybody had that little row house. And my wife, she didn't have to work because the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, it was a little bit of like a socialist society in its own weird way because not that it was entirely, but everybody made a living wage. So because there was this living wage because it was pre-Walmart and things like that, like, you had this living wage that people could do. So, like, Sam the butcher could go bang Alice out back and still have enough money for a new car and a house and everything else, even being a butcher. But as we came into it started getting more and more separated on that class structure as time went on, because in the 70s we started seeing that class structure separate. In the 80s it really separated because that's
Wall Street.
That's when you had the crash, you had Walmart realized that I can pay people jack shit and put these other companies out of business. So all those little small hardware stores that were paying somebody a living wage went under. And so now it just becomes you just work for mega corporations. You know, I work for Amazon or I work for this or you just don't work. And so that's...
Amazon is about to become the new FedEx. I just thought I should throw it out there and let everybody know that's happening. If anybody's not paying attention. I've seen what Walmart is doing. They're doing a lot of crazy stuff. Like it's kind of I try to explain that to different people. Like even their growth philosophy that they're perfectly well open with. Like they don't mind talking about how they purposely put companies out of business. Like that's their business method.
I think a key point.
But it's
to the mindset of why I'm important, or you know, my opinion matters and I'm important. There's a couple things. So like besides like the social economic parts, I think media again plays a big part. If you look at World War II, media was filtered. There was only a couple stations. It was either radio and TV, and it was only going to be a few stations, right? You get into the 70s, there's more. Media is bigger. I mean, each generation, each 10 years, 80s. I mean, TV was huge in the 80s, right?
Did we say the 80s ruined America?
Can we? I don't know. People look back.
I really like just hearing your conversation. And
I think it was a start.
I asked you guys
that the 90s were worth.
I think the 90s were the fully realization of what the 80s were trying to accomplish. I asked you
what
guys
the 80s were trying to accomplish, or what they became.
Because like you guys are a little bit older than me. That's why I asked those kind of questions, because I'm younger, so my perspective on that is a little bit different.
80s is when wealth and status became.
And that's what I'm saying. Like it was the number one driving force, because you were talking about
Testarossa, like all this stuff.
Right.
Like,
the social economic status he was just referring to, and the capitalism, and then at the same time the media, because in the 80s that's when they started everything with the mega networks, your Foxes, your CBSs. It was a third one, and they were all fighting over media control at that point. Because remember,
because CNN came at that point,
and then
Fox was like late 80s or late 90s.
Which company? I can't remember which company put on a news show to combat CNN. I can't remember which one it was. I don't know if it was NBC or not, but they put on a show that was like a news structure in that way to combat what CNN was doing.
It was like MSNBC, I think.
Yeah. So it may have been MSNBC. So that's what I'm saying. Like we see the changing of the guard per se, where it's like one media platform is saying this, but then also something else I thought about is one central message. In the World War II thing, we're all the same messaging. Yep. Now, because we're competing for the capitalism and the social economic status, because we have to have ratings to pay our people to get these jobs to maintain the status, we need to get clickbait. So when I mean by clickbait is we need to have the most controversial stuff. Yep. Because what was going on in the 80s? What's the guy's name? Is it Gaddafi? Is it Gaddafi? Was he in the 80s? I believe he was in the 80s.
Well, he was more like a 90s when they went in and took out Libya, but he was a problem in the 80s. But then they had...
it was somebody else that was in that vein.
I know exactly who you're thinking about, but I can't think of his name.
But anyway, like when they start reporting on him, the ratings were skyrocketing in the 80s. Like people were, and then I feel like people start studying, going back to socialism. Oh, this is what drives people. This is what people want. Let's start putting our media forces behind that, and then you start getting what media is now. And I feel like the 80s is where a lot of that set in, a lot of the greed set in with Wall Street, because people start realizing I can get over. What was the big guy in the 80s that was the mega TV church that ended up embezzling money from the church? Him and his wife.
Every single one. Jim and Tammy Faye, basically.
Is that what? So like you start seeing
everyone.
Well, Jimmy Swaggart, remember? Like, there was one who went on there because was like Jessica Hahn. He had an affair with this she was hot. Like, trust me, it was worth it, I'm sure, for the man. She was in Penthouse and all this other stuff afterwards, but he's like, does the whole cliche, like crying in front, going, the devil has tempted me. Like, this is the worst. And then it's so worth watching. Like, YouTube, that stuff. Like, but then the same thing, like Jim and Tammy Faye, had so much money, and they had an air-conditioned doghouse that had like columns, like French columns on it and things like this.
Let me say this. I would be remiss if I didn't say this. I am a super like religious churchgoer, so I understand the financial aspect and the benefit of it and how it's supposed to work. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when you see stuff like that, there are some things that are out of order. But to get back to that point, I think the 80s is kind of where a lot of that stuff happened. And then your late 80s, you got the crack era that affected the African American community. Again, all stemming back from that social economics. I need the money, the dollar bill became the driving force. Right. So I even think if we research it more, because we're spitballing this just like off the top of our head right now. Yeah. I feel like the 80s was and that's the Reagan era, right? Yeah. I feel like that's different. The 80s were different.
It was like, we still had a common enemy though, because like during the 80s, it was like, that's when the money came in and everything else, but we still were like peak Cold War. And then that's when we all could still rally, because like Leonid Khrushchev, who ran Russia at the time, actually went on the air and threatened the entire country and said, we're going to bury you. Like, so it became like, we're on the brink of nuclear war. It's probably the second closest we were, other than like the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Chernobyl also happened in the 80s as well, 86, April 25th. Just thinking about stuff like further to the point.
And then it took, the death of him and then coming in, and then Gorbachev, all of a sudden we were like buds. Like, now we're...
I had a Russian
and that's Bush. He was
in the 90s.
He was like Gorbachev, Bush's homeboy, right? Yeah.
Well, Gorbachev and Reagan were there, and then Reagan's the one who came, and he said, tear down this wall, and that's when the Berlin Wall fell. Yeah, okay. And every cliche, really bad rock song ever about the falling of the Berlin Wall came out really quick. And,
was that
that's an automatic station changer right there.
What year was that?
Because Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Pink Floyd The Wall is
from
like early 70s.
Yeah.
Okay. But I just wanted to make sure. I love that album.
The two worst songs that I can think of involved in that is Jesus Jones, Right Here, Right Now, which is...
Never heard that song before, ever.
Keep Guns Away From You, if you're listening to that song. And then Scorpions, Winds of Change.
Never heard those songs either.
Both horrible songs.
Neither ever heard either one of those songs.
completely only about the drop of the Berlin Wall.
Hands Across America was in the 80s too, right?
Yep, that was early. I remember my mom driving my little brother and I to go hold hands with people across America. That was like 1982 or something.
Because I really
that was kind of cool.
But that goes back to that point of the togetherness you were from
cool.
Yeah.
Like,
and how did we get
Farm Aid, like all those cool things?
I don't know, man. I'm going to definitely like take some time out of my busy schedule and just really.
It was great, and then towards the end, like those late '80s, like the crack came in. It was a lot of social separation,
a lot of violence.
Kind of like that
and the
New
government
Jack
was
City
behind
mentality.
That.
Like,
and that's when you get into the '90s where it's fully realized. Because even in real life, you had the New Jack City the movie, but in real life you had YBI, you had what's the other guys from Detroit that were really big? White Boy Rick was early '90s, and then the Chambers Brothers as well. Mm-hmm. And that's just here regional because it was like that going on all across America.
Well, they had everybody. They had like. And I can't remember the name.
And then Wall Street continued to blow up too.
What was Big L's brothers gang?
I can't think.
The Best Friends.
Yo, son, people are gonna slay me for not knowing that. I can't think of that. Right off the top of my head.
I can't think of. They were huge.
Oh,
they were huge. But
I'm so upset that JP found this song and it's playing.
Oh no. All this makes me think of
and really what's like the video is a whole bunch of stuff, like it's the Soviet Union pulling like a whole map. And you've never heard this song?
I've never heard this song before.
Here, right now.
No, it's pretty much like, and then it got incorporated, of course, in about like opening Pepsis and stuff like that.
I've never heard this song before.
Kylie Jenner would have been in this video of him.
Yeah, no shit.
If she was alive at the time.
That's hilarious.
With some Pepsi.
Yep. With some Pepsi, solving the world's problems, ending racism with Pepsi.
I'm still trying to think of the Big L thing. That's gonna bother me.
I know. I'll think of it on the ride home.
I've never heard this song before.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy playing the keyboard. I wish I had my second monitor up so we could all watch this. This guy playing the keyboard is going in, dancing behind this keyboard. Yeah. It's hilarious.
No, and I'd say like. I went entirely rap like post 1987 to about 91 because the music was so bad. Like everything was so bad. Not like the rap was bad, but like I was just like, I'm gonna come home from work, I'm gonna watch Rap City, then MTV Raps, then my brother and I'll make some mixtapes.
Well, because it was the hot thing. It was the new hot thing.
Well, everything was sweet. Like I listened to everything when I was a kid, like from anything from like Glenn Campbell to the Stones or something like that. Like I've always listened to just about everything. But I remember watching, I think it was like 86 or 87 Grammys, and LL Cool J comes out and does "I'm Bad."
Yeah.
And it is the most impressive performance I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I just shit. Like I was just like, whoa! Like this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like I'm. Probably 13 years old at the time. I was at the record store the next day when they opened up to pick up that "I'm Bad" album. And then it just started like this huge pile down, just like everything. I'm like listening to like Nubian Prince and like all this stuff, like all these really random things, man. And like just tape cassettes after tape cassettes and doing all this stuff. Like I started making mixtapes. Like I was rapping with my friends. We had like all these little groups and stuff like that. We would freestyle on the playground. Like that was good times. I miss those. It was sweet.
Those things still happen.
Yeah. No, but
it just happened on the internet.
But yeah, it's a different thing. Like it was just like a whole. Like every time a new album came out, you get all excited. It's like, oh man, and that like King T's got a new album out.
But again, media changed how that happens. That was a whole conversation we had in the first season.
Yeah.
Go listen. We talked about that, like how social media and media in general has changed that landscape. So like what I was saying, as far as how media helped propel the "I'm important" sentiment, is so like back in the day, right? if you wanted to get out the things that you were passionate about, people would create like fanzines, like magazines that you made yourself and you'd mail out to people. And then radio, like you started being able to do public access radio and being able to, there was even, there's a freaking movie about pirate radio. Well, who's in that?
The one with Jack Black. No, Jack Black?
No.
It's the one they're on the boat.
Christian Slater.
Oh, Christian Slater. Well,
that was another one too.
They had pirate radio, which was out on the thing. And then they had the one with Christian Slater where he's broadcasting from his
basement or something. Yeah, his Jeep. Yeah, but I mean, so like then that was radio, right? Where you were like, oh, I'm gonna try to broadcast and have my own voice, and then public access TV. Like I remember watching the public access channel and laughing at some of the shit that was on there. But again, it was giving people an avenue. Right, it was giving people an avenue to say what they wanted to say and feel like they were important. And then when you bring along the internet, and now you can say it, and you can either say who you are, or you can say your shit anonymously, has totally changed the landscape of stuff. And I think a lot of that, along with
I hate the
socioeconomic stuff,
hate it.
The way media has changed has made it easier and easier and easier to express your opinion, much like this, and be able to be like, it's about me, because people, inherently, a lot of people, that's what it is, right? It's self-preservation. People want to be important in their own lives. I think some of it stems from people being unhappy and unfulfilled with their lives. I do a lot of shit, and yeah, there's moments where I feel unfulfilled, but it's not really because I haven't, it's more like I get mad at myself for not doing something that I want to do, and I just get down on myself like, man, I just wasted time watching TV when I could have been, making more music or preparing something else or doing my wood burning or, being on my boat fishing. I get mad at myself for being unproductive. I think other people just, it seems like they get trapped in that, even if they have a good life, my life's not good. My son tells me all the time how his life sucks. And it's like, dude, do you know what you have right now?
I gotta hear his reason why. I have to have that conversation with him and understand that. What?
It is weird, and it's.
I think it's a comparison.
It's that Instagram kind of mentality.
But going back to the social, you really blessed me today. I really, because it really got. I really think the '80s ruined America now. I'm so serious because it goes back to that. It's comparison, right? Because if we didn't have anything to compare it, how do I know I'm unhappy? I don't have a focal point. I don't have nothing to compare it to. But Instagram and Facebook makes me look at somebody's finished product and be clear, it's the finished product, because nobody posts the process. Nobody posts like the 7 times they failed on a business. They actually post the end result. Even working with businesses now, right? Everybody comes and talks about business, and everybody's fear is failure. When failure actually develops you for the business,
that's
right?
how you learn.
That's how you learn. You know how much money Warren Buffett lost? Just lost. It's trial and error, and people want the finished product without the process, and that goes back to that comparison, because I feel like I need to have this social economic status because I need this money. I need to feel this way. I need to feel empowered. I need to have the Tesla, you know what I'm saying, or was it whatever it was back then, the Mercedes, and that all stems from Back to the Future.
Those were terrible.
Is Back to the Future 3 really that good?
The third one?
I think it's terrible.
No.
I think it's awful.
I don't think it's the best. No, obviously not. It's watchable.
I've seen something on the internet where people were arguing the third one is the best one.
No.
And
I just the one out west?
Yes. It's terrible. It's awful. But there's it's like a
terrible.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
But it's watchable. But it's not.
It's not something that you're just like, you know what I'm gonna do today?
Right.
I'm gonna sit down and watch the third one.
Sit down and watch the third one.
It's like Godfather 3. We don't even acknowledge that it exists. You know?
Like the third one is the one where you're probably 2-3 beers in, it's 2:30 in the morning, and you click by.
Fuck it.
You click by HBO. HBO's there, and you're just and it's halfway done, and you're just like, I'll just watch this.
Speaking of drinking,
I'm still not there.
You're the Hennessy drinker, right?
Absolutely.
All right, I have something for you to try when we're done.
Awesome.
It's pure white Hennessy. Have you ever had that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's amazing. Actually, totally on a different tangent, it's great to cook with as well.
Okay.
It's great to cook with. Hennessy is always good to cook with as well, because the flavor that it has, once you cook off the alcohol, it actually still maintains
the flavor.
its flavor.
Yeah.
And a lot of liquors, when you cook with it, don't do that a lot. Beers do that, but even still, you have to get a really beer or a Guinness or something like that, or a black. You have to get
cooking with a dark IPA.
Yeah, that's what most people do, because it doesn't maintain the flavor. And what I like to do is cook the alcohol off, brown sugar, honey, soy sauce. It makes a good glaze.
I always cook with alcohol.
Yeah. That is hilarious, man. But yeah, Back to the Future 3 sucks. I just want the internet to know that.
We'll just put that out there. We'll put that out there real quick. To be quite honest, the DeLorean sucked too, by the way. Like,
yeah.
As a car guy, they put a 4-cylinder motor in a
stainless steel
3,000-pound
box.
stainless steel car. The 0 to 60 on a DeLorean is like tomorrow. It's not. It's not measurable. It's like sometime around morning.
So while we're on film real quick, so the Cinetopia thing.
Yes.
You saw that. So one of my guests on here, I went to high school, Ted Hauser. He was one of the coordinators for the festival this year.
Okay.
So that's why I ended up going to the Detroit Voices, because he told me about it. That was actually like one of the parts that he was like in charge of putting all together, which was really cool. Sorry, I totally forgot to invite you. Cool. I was like, dude, I was sitting there and I was like, Dan, Delano would have loved this.
And like, I went to see John Wick. I happened to walk into the Imagine Theater and I seen all these pictures of the festival stuff. I'm like, what's this? And I was like, maybe they're advertising or something. I pick up the book and I'm seeing all of these independent films. And I'm like, yo, when did this happen? The lady's like, well, this is the last day. And I'm like, crap. And then she starts telling me all about it. And they actually did 3 different locations. And she's like, each location we're showing a different films.
Movies,
I'm like, I have to be a part of this next year and make sure I see it. Because she's was telling me that it's all local. So it's all local filmmakers. Do you ever do the DIA
one? When they do the DIA
I haven't done a DIA one in a very long time. Like, I think since college.
What Cinetopia did is they go to all the major film festivals that you enter into, and then they pick the best ones from those that they feel are the best ones from those ones, because the main Cinetopia isn't an entry one where you can enter your film. It's one where they cherry pick from the other film festivals. Detroit Voices, that was an entry from Detroit. If you're a Detroit filmmaker, you could enter your film. I think he said they had over 70 submissions.
Wow.
And it was pared down. I have the booklet upstairs, but I think it's upstairs. Or is that yours?
No.
Okay, yeah, then it's probably that one. But it went down to like, I think it was like around like 12 or 15. So there were some really good ones.
Man, I wish I would have had the opportunity to see some of them, man. Like, the lady was like, I feel like I was more excited than she was as an employee, and I haven't even seen any of the movies. And I'm like, have you seen any of them? Which is the best one?
I'm definitely going to be trying to get some of the filmmakers to see if they'd be interested in this. I talked to one of them that night. It was a little hectic and crowded, a lot of stuff going on. I had my picture taken in front of like the Cinetopia thing, me and Dan, so it felt like we were at a movie premiere. You know, it was kind of funny. Man. It was funny, but no, it was really, really cool.
Man, I really wish I had the opportunity to check it out as just a diehard film goer.
Yeah, it was cool. There was another point to me saying all that, and I totally forgot what it was.
That's usually what happens when we start talking about movies, or
Just like, how many syllables is in Cinetopia? That's what I was really thinking.
No, there was another part there, and I can't remember what it was now. Damn it!
Again, Back to the Future 3 sucks.
We're gonna drill this in right here.
Yeah.
Because I just was surprised, like, that really was like when you go on Facebook, even though I hate social media to a degree, but there are some benefits of it. Just hooking up with people that have like-mindedness, mindset. So all of these, like, I'm in this like 4 or 5 different groups that discuss movies and anime, and that this conversation came up, and
you're an anime guy.
Of course, like, I was like super shocked. Yeah. Like, I was super shocked. I'm like, I commented like, is this really a thing? Like, I was taken aback. Like, I've never heard anybody talk about Back to the Future 3 as like the best one, but people are like,
I would
adamant.
Never.
And I just was like, yo,
that'd be like Batman and Robin being the best Batman.
I think it got romanticized because for years they didn't release it.
Right.
Really? So it was like the secret one. So it wasn't until like there was a box set years ago that included it. So you could only get 1 and 2 for the longest time. And this falls back in the years where, like VHS. So you wouldn't own a VHS tape in your own house because they were like $300.
Isn't it crazy
that
we're to a point now where there's going to be kids that don't know what a VHS tape was?
Yeah.
Oh, there's kids that don't know what anything is.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because the internet gives you access to learn everything.
Well, and there's such a market now for the nostalgia and the throwback stuff. I mean, they're making all the video game consoles now, but they can just fit every game that ever came out on that system into the little mini system.
I was watching this show on Netflix the other day, and it's called like Slavy's World, and it's got this guy, and he's got to be one of the most grating people on earth. Like, he's just this really weird dude, and he's in Arizona, but he just sells like crap from the 90s, and a lot of it's like knockoff shirts.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yep.
And stuff like that. And it's He's just like, oh, this is like a knockoff Louis thing, and normally I would have got that in a swap meet or something for like $10. Mm-hmm. He's like, $586, and somebody's just like, yeah, and they just start like pulling it down. They get all excited, and I watched this entire series just in shock, feeling like I needed to get a new job.
I delivered to a guy.
It's amazing, like the hustles that people get, man.
No,
I delivered to a guy.
I love watching stuff when people do like a proper hustle that I never thought of before. I love it.
But that's the let me say, but I think that's the beauty of one of the benefits of the internet right now is because entrepreneurship is so easy.
Yeah.
And it is so accessible
like
because
YouTube things and different stuff like that.
You can
like
YouTube anything. I feel like at this point, going back to unhappiness and social economics, that you can be anything you want right now. You could literally be anything you want right now, and I don't think people are fully capitalizing on it.
You have to be a chameleon a little bit, though, because I feel like people like what's new and they like what's fresh, so you have to reinvent yourself. But if you can do that successfully, like you can't do the same thing for more than like 3-4 years, like especially like the YouTube kind of thing. But if you can reinvent yourself, like you can do it forever.
Yeah,
sure. It's just like because your personality, your talent lasts forever. The interest in your subject might not.
Right. You just have to make it digestible.
Yeah.
So this guy, speaking of interesting ways of making money,
3 sucks. No, I'm just joking.
he bought Lego guys in bulk. He found a company that would erase the Lego characters off of the for him, like whatever was originally painted on there, and then he would have them repainted as like World War II soldiers, Vietnam soldiers, basically anything people wanted. So because people, I guess there's a whole subculture of like setting up Lego dioramas. And that's what he did. He worked from home, and in his spare time he bought bulk Lego guys, sent them to this company to erase them, and then he would print off these new things on them and sell them. And he was, I mean, again, I don't know. I didn't go look at his ledger books and stuff, but he was saying that he was able to do over $1 million in sales in a year.
I can believe that.
Yeah, I saw a guy not too long ago who was
Legos are fucking expensive.
He was doing the same thing, but with 3D printers in guns. So he would make like realistic guns for Lego guys. All different ones, and you can go on his website and order them all. And the 3D
printing has really opened up stuff too. Yeah. Like what people are able to accomplish with the 3D printers is getting better and better. Like a lot of it started off because it's like layer by layer, but now there's some other stuff where it's looking way better. Yeah. But like in the drone racing stuff, like people have been printing off all kinds of things for holding your cameras, for protectors, and all kinds of different things you can buy now for drone racing that people are just printing off and making themselves. Even frames, people are making their own frames.
I feel like the bummer part about that, like, is you don't have much. If people don't want to buy it from you and they have the printer, they can just do it. Like your actual protection for anything is pretty minimal at best.
Sure. I mean, I think it would cut down on some of the prototyping if you had an idea that you wanted to do and you were able to just go get a 3D printer and you could do those prototypes yourself to make sure that like it worked. You could do a lot of the R&D yourself now without having to go to a company to create it and mock it up and then test it and then be like, oh, I need this change, and then it takes however long for them to change it. You could just do it yourself now.
If kids still played with things.
They do. They get some kids that do.
Adults do. Some kids do. I feel like I'm the only person buying toys still.
Yeah. Oh, my son just says I jock his style on everything. He got a wood burner for Christmas or whatever, and he started doing it, and I was like, man, I remember wood burners when I was a kid, and I was like, I never really got into it. I was like, let me check this thing out. And then now this is the one I'm going to be working on. I'm going to be doing that. Did you see the wolf one that I did, Delano?
I didn't see that one. I saw this. I like this one right here.
Yeah, you like that one?
Yeah.
I got another samurai guy chilling over here, too. But yeah, I started doing all these ones, but this wolf one I did was sick. And
you showed me that picture.
Hey, you might have seen that one.
A minute ago.
That one, it was pretty nuts. But I was like, oh man, I never thought like I would have got into it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's super awesome.
Because it's like super detailed. It's like traditional tattooing.
Yeah, and it's really insane. So now he's mad at me. Oh, you just took something I wanted to do. Now you're doing it. No, I just don't want to do it.
Your kid is hilarious, man.
Yeah.
Oh, so
just go, well, I wasn't feeling like doing juggling flaming swords, so you can go ahead and do that.
Oh man. No, and then like we got him a fishing pole for Christmas because he wants to fish for muskie, which are big ass fucking fish, and he wants to do that. So we got him a rod for Christmas and everything, and so with my points from work, I bought a new heavy duty fishing pole, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, see, I want a muskie fish. No, you're gonna do it. You just try to take my things, Dad."
That's crazy, man.
I should tell him that about video games. Be like, "Oh, dude, I've been playing video games since you were even a thought. You just take my thing."
Should, right.
I was just thinking about that on like Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, did you ever try to catch a muskie other than the one that you had to?
Yeah, right.
No, you just stand on this side with a gun. Like I just do that all the time. I'm just like, oh, and you just push him over the side, then pick him up. Like, I'm out of here. I just saved myself 20 minutes.
Yeah. It is tough.
It's a pain in the ass.
Delano doesn't play video games.
My attention span is too short. Like, I have a very short attention span.
My son does too, but that's like the one thing he can focus on. That's the one thing that'll keep his attention forever.
Really?
Yes. I mean, he can do decent with movies or like a TV show or something.
Movies are I think it's small, it's digestible, 2.5 hours to 3 hours I can sit. And then also I go to the movies like a lot because I'm in that space. It's dark. I don't have the phone is on silent. Everything is like for the 3 hours.
It's a way for you to tune out.
Turn out. It's therapeutic, honestly. Like it's just for this 2.5, 3 hours, I'm only focused on one thing.
What do you do if somebody gets on their phone in the movie theater? I'm just wondering if
I'm gonna be super honest. I don't care because I'm that focused on that. I only get distracted when people are like, you're
hello,
talking,
hey, what's going on?
Stuff like
I'm at
that.
the movie right now.
You know what I mean? Like that. That's sometimes I get distracted. And in my movie going experience, I've never had that happen. The only thing I've had happen where you're like people are like loudly talking, and it's just like, yo, chill. But other than that, I don't really care.
I get into like fight territory.
Really, with cell phones?
Oh, I get mad.
I've been like, Megan, chill out. I don't need to get shot in the theater.
Yeah,
I do. I lose my shit.
So like when you describe it a little bit for me, like are people talking or like they're just getting on their phones?
Like people just checking stuff. I can't remember what the last one was. So last time I was there and the kid next to me checks it and I do like a countdown in my head and I'm just like, all right, like what, like how long till I get really fucking pissed off? And then like
T-10,
and it's just like 5, 4, and then he puts it away. And I was just like, oh. All right, maybe that was just a one time.
If he pulls it back out, does the timer start over again, or does it resume for where it left off?
No. So then he pulls it back out again, and I remember I turned to him, and I was just like, I don't care if there's a fucking nuclear war outside. You can find out in 30 minutes. Put it the fuck away.
You told a kid that?
And I was just
what did his parents do?
And he just was like he just looked at me, and I was just like, okay. Like, he just put it away, and I was just like, you go ahead and tell your dad. I'm going to tell him he's a shitty-ass dad. That's what I'm going to tell him.
Look, so when I was at that film festival, the Detroit Voices...
that shit is unacceptable.
I try to avoid that at all costs. Like, actually, at Endgame, I had to get up and take a call, which sucked.
Oh, I'll leave, yeah. I mean...
I got up, and I walked away before I even got on the phone. I saw, like, I felt it, and I checked, and I was like, oh, shit. And then I ran out at the Detroit Voices. I was sitting kind of in the back, and I got there before Dan did. So I was like... Oh, my phone just vibrated. So I'm like putting it down between my legs, like turn my screen brightness all the way down, like trying to be as least intrusive as I could be. But there was another person with a gigantic phone that was like, whoa, like they just kept checking. It lit up everything. Yeah, it did. That's distracting.
The reason I brought this up is last night I went to go see John Wick. And this dude walks right down the aisle, and he's standing in the middle of the aisle, like standing up.
No, that would have pissed me off.
Like standing up on the phone because all I can think of is that he was in the wrong movie theater and he was trying to figure out what seat he was supposed to be in. And there's all these people like sitting there just staring at this guy like this. And I was just like, did you all turn in your balls at the door? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, tell him to get the fuck out.
No, they just watch the news and they don't want to get shot.
Nah.
Then he just gets up.
I don't even care about it. I'd have been. I wouldn't. There wouldn't have been no timer. I was like, yo, what are you doing? Like go somewhere.
Stand in front of people.
I'll tell you, one of the most frustrating experiences I've had recently.
I wish they put jammers. Like, that's what I feel like would be awesome. Like, if they put jammers in movie theaters, I'd be so for it.
So I went to 2 comedy shows last year, big ones. I went to Bill Burr at the Fox. I was so purely frustrated and actually kind of, I would say, disgusted at people I've never been to, especially a live act comedy show, anything like that, where so many people just constantly were getting up and going and walking around. Like, I was like, how rude. Like, this is what you paid to come here and see this guy speak, and you're constantly getting up. The 3 guys next to us got literally every 5 to 10 minutes getting up, and then we'd have to get up. They'd go by. Everybody start laughing. Oh, I didn't even hear the fucking joke because I'm trying to get out of the way for these guys. Sit back down. Up, here they come again. They got to get back to their seats. It was fucking ridiculous. And then so many people walking up and down the aisle. Like, oh, I can't even see the guy right now because there's so many people. It was ridiculous.
I'd have been upset
then
about that.
we went to Kevin Hart. People weren't bad about getting up and walking around. It was the cell phone thing, and it was funny. It was very, very, I mean, to me and Megan, we were laughing our asses off. It was part of the show just to see how many people got kicked out because no phones.
I loved him for that.
No phones.
Like, I admit,
and
like,
literally
that
what they had
cemented him into my heart.
What they had was guys walking around with glow sticks on necklaces, and if they saw you with your phone out, they'd start spinning that glow stick around, and security swooped right in. Gotta go. No ifs, ands, or buts. No arguments. Nothing. I watched a lady get all pissed off. I wasn't even on my phone. Doesn't matter. You gotta go. He said you were on your phone. And just whole parties of 4, 5, 6 people just leaving. It was crazy. And they warned everyone at the beginning. They're like, look, you're going to be able to take photos at the end of the show. But since this is the beginning of the tour or whatever, or we're in the tour, we don't want this getting out and ruining the show for other people that are later in the tour. So just be respectful. Keep your phone away. If your phone is out at all, you will be removed. No ifs, ands, or buts. No refunds. Nothing. So don't be that dumbass that loses all the money you just spent on these tickets. And it was insane.
People, I don't know, like,
keep your fucking phone in your pocket. It was crazy.
Put your phone on do not disturb. Like, when I go to stuff like that, I want to do not disturb. That way, it's not even an accidental thing, because he's been doing that for years. That's not like
right. And he's not the only one either. Someone else, I think, was it Chappelle? You had to put it in like a bag, like,
and have it checked, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't they check them? Which is fantastic too. Like,
it's crazy.
He's just against cell phones.
Oh, I am. Like,
he's super nostalgic. Like, anything that's like new era, he doesn't like it.
No, it's 100%. I hate technology. Like, I do. I'm like, shit, Amish people got it right.
Well, look, and there's definitely a part of me that just wants to
I just
live in the woods.
Just missed it
with my internet for video games.
It was so great when you had a life and like you could trust everybody. Like, it was a good time, man.
When was that?
Like,
when you could trust everybody?
Well,
you're older now.
Again, depends. And I think it depends on where you grew up.
Because everybody was a suspect. Yo, who that? That's new. We don't know them.
No, I mean, like, in the fact that you had nothing to do on Friday if you didn't follow what you had said you were going to do. So, like, if it's like, hey, I will meet you here at 8 o'clock. You're not there at 8 o'clock, 8:10. Everybody's gone. They're off to a party, man, and you're like on your own for the rest of the night.
And there's no way of being like, hey, dude, what's the address? Where do I gotta go?
I was telling my son that, like, about how like high school parties used to work, and I go, it was really crazy. And so there'd be a high school party, you'd be at it. There might be like 3-4 people because it's like your friend is throwing the party. And, like, you go to a party now and people show up in little small quantities. Like, there's like 3 people here, 4 people here. When the party showed up, it was like 125 people. Like, all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, this huge caravan of people just come parking in. And there's like 100 and some people come walking in the door. And when they left, like 125 people leave and they go to the next spot. And it was super fun. Like, it was just it's like great caravan of drunk teens, like
this guy's hilarious, man.
It's like the greatest time ever. And
come on, man, get with the times, man. 2019 now.
Yep. Man, if you couldn't get laid back then, you had a problem. Like, you had like at least 50 drunk girls with you.
And that's the political career.
Completely gone. Somebody's got to hear that and be like, I hate this guy. Cancel that guy. You can never come back on the podcast.
But see, you don't hear about the drunk guys being taken advantage of.
Because people don't care.
I'm not saying we were taking advantage of the drunk girls.
I was at a bar one time. I don't ever get like drunk. I like to stay in control. But I was intoxicated at the bar, and this girl came up and just shoved her hand down my pants and grabbed my shit, and I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, get your hand out of my pants. I didn't feel violated. I mean, I felt kind of flattered that a girl just felt the need to walk up and grab my dick. But at the same time, though, in today's climate,
well, you know my old job. Like I was a bouncer for like almost a decade. Like I used to be like. I think I've shown you pictures and stuff. Like I used to be a bodybuilder and everything like that.
No, I have not seen those pictures.
No?
No.
Nah, I could bring them, but it doesn't matter.
But he forgot his photo album.
Let me bring up something with my mom's stupid Facebook.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
No photo album. But,
you know what the wallet size was?
But they had... so they had the...
I'm right in the middle, so...
Yeah. So I did that for like a decade, and man, you were always getting just used and abused all the time. Like, you get hit on all night long.
It's a different climate
But
now.
it's a different thing. Like, it's a different story if you're a man versus a woman, like... I'm sorry, your story don't count, son.
But that's what I'm saying.
And that's
people,
what it was.
People don't care because of the perspective of what a man is supposed to be and not supposed to be. It's like when you're the aggressor per se, you are the victim. What, miser, is that the word I'm looking for? Or like you're the... okay, I got to think about that. Yo, guys, I know what I'm trying to say. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're the oppressor per se. And if you're not, it's like, okay, well, you should have been strong enough to overtake the situation. You could have been strong enough to prevent it instead of just acknowledging that it's a double standard. It just acknowledge that. It's like really just that. And I think we need to kind of revisit, again, all of that stuff. Period. Because it all comes in that. Listen, somebody putting the hands down your pants like, yo, we scrapping.
And never talked to her, nothing. Just girl walked up, hand down the pants, was like, what the fuck?
No, and then they act appalled if you're not excited about that, too. Like,
so look.
You know who I am?
Look.
Like, what are you doing?
And it's funny you bring up the double standard, right? Down? So, yeah. For sure. Guys, let me get this girl drinks, let me get this girl drinks, get her to relax, whatever, right? Get her drunk even. Same thing. Girls all the time, I go out and drink for free. I have female friends that I go out and I drink for free.
Right.
Because guys will buy me drinks. I flirt with them, they buy me drinks.
Guys buy you drinks?
I said a female friend. This is from the female voice. Thanks, yeah. I know. But you know what I mean? Like, that's what they say.
So how many guys do you flirt with?
I'm
joking.
What?
That's me at 210.
Wow.
Like that's,
yeah.
That's when I was doing security at the state at 210.
That's crazy. What made you slim down? What made you slim down?
Cancer.
I'm sorry. I
was waiting for the answer. That was funny.
Yep. Not trying to give you a hard time, but yes.
Yeah. All right.
Just a smidge.
If you ever really want to lose weight, get cancer.
I've got this great plan.
Yep. For all you ladies out there that are just bummed about can't lose the weight.
Bro.
I can drop 80 off you in no time.
Oh my god. But you know what though? Going through something crazy like that and laughing about it, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Oh man, I've almost died so many times you can't help but laugh about it. It's funny. Like it just keeps me like happier about waking up every day.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
You gotta have a positive perspective or a positive light on anything, Silver lining. What's that? Well, Excelsior.
Excelsior.
Yeah.
But
awesome movie.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro is unappreciated in Hollywood, I feel like.
Robert De Niro is an interesting character.
He is
because is he at the point now where he's just doing work just to make money because he needs money?
Oh, he's unquestionably in that one area where, like, we need you to come do Viagra commercials, and he's like, okay. Like,
I just think he has nothing else to do. Like, what else can you do?
You know who does that like a king? Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley is in some of the most incredible movies ever made, and then Blood Rain. Like just like stuff that's like just the most god awful piece of crap that you've ever seen in your entire life that looks like it was filmed on like an iPhone.
Yep.
And
you know who else does that? But it's because they need the money.
You're knighted by the Queen. You are Sir Ben Kingsley, and we're Gandhi. And you are in this piece of shit. like you just walk into the room, and it's Ben Kingsley. And I think if you're an actor, you're just like, well, this is either good or a total piece of shit. There's no in between.
Well, that's God. I can't even believe I'm gonna mess. Is it Nicolas Cage, right?
Yeah.
He's one that needs the money, but he can be like amazing and in a really good movie, and then just batshit crazy in a horrible thing. It's that guy's up and down trajectory is nuts.
I don't even think it's up and down. I think it's always down, and then you have the one
you
that comes out of nowhere.
You have a few lucky strikes,
and then it's just back down. And even the ups are like, this is weird, but it's okay, for occasional.
Did anybody watch Mandy?
I was about to say that.
Mandy?
No.
Super weird. It's super weird.
I haven't seen it yet, but
I started watching it.
Everyone talked about it.
That's why I started watching it.
This is the greatest movie in the history of time.
That's why I started watching it. So I'm watching it. And again, short attention span. I'm watching it. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's so. I'm like,
is that one on Netflix?
It is on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he on acid? Maybe. Like, do I need to be on acid for this movie? Like, I'm so confused as to what's going on that I just cut it off because it's like it's super weird and it's like it's slow. It's a slow burn. It's taking so long to get to the point. There's so many other weird things happening for me to get into it. I'm like, okay, this may not be for me.
You know what movie that like was super huge when it came out? I just never could get behind Con Air. I just never didn't understand why.
I mean, it's a forgettable movie.
I didn't care about Con Air.
But man, that movie seemed like it was huge. It was everywhere when that came out.
It was huge when it came out. That was the mid-90s,
like, what is going on?
Everybody talked about that movie. But
you know what movie I think he did really good in was Matchstick Men. I thought that was a great movie.
Matchstick Men was amazing. I love that movie.
Yeah, I thought that was a great movie.
I think it was the story that made Matchstick Men
so?
work.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Nicolas Cage movies, he's always over the top with the performance.
Yes.
But I think it's the story that makes the plot work and everything like that. Like one of my favorite Nick Cage movies is The Family Man. Like, I think that movie is super dope, and it's not anything extravagant. There's no amazing performances. It's just that conversation of, do you think you want what you really want? Or what you have, do you think it's really what you want?
I think he started out on a good note. Like, pretty much your first 7, 8 Nick Cage movies are solid. And then
Raising Arizona was pretty funny.
Well, Raising Arizona is like an absolute classic.
Yeah, that's a good one. Have you ever seen that one? Raising Arizona?
Is that the one where he's a
criminal and he's married to a cop and they steal the baby?
No, I haven't seen that. What's that one where he has the winning lottery ticket?
I can't remember either.
I like that movie. I can't. Whatever one he was the winning lottery ticket.
Yeah, Raising Arizona is funny.
Raising Arizona is my favorite, I would say.
I have to watch
by far.
My favorite is probably going to 60
He's a
seconds.
young guy
Ghost
in that
Rider,
movie.
right.
No, Ghost Rider.
I'm just kidding.
Ghost Rider 2.
Delano would be like, yep, I'm going to unfollow, unfriend.
It was awful. But let me ask this question, kind of getting back to the whole thrust of our conversation there. What is art to you guys? What would you categorize as art?
I think art is can be anything, and you end up in this giant dilemma amongst your random everyday Joes sometimes because they want to go like, I'm sorry, Renoir is only art. But then, you know, they go through the Museum of Modern Art and they see something like a Kandinsky or that's just like maybe just a big red square. And like, that's stupid, I could do that. And it's like, no, you can't. No, you can't. But it's really something that inspires thought and brings beauty, and it doesn't have to be visual. It can be audio, visual, emotionally driven. It can be
taste.
It can be anything.
It can be anything that plays on the senses.
Like pretty much anything that affects you sensually, like in your senses. That's not like I got a huge hard on by that, but like that's sensually. But but you know, like I'm just drawn in by that, and I feel like it's somehow made my life a little better for a couple of seconds, even how simple that makes it. You know what I mean?
And I completely agree with that. So I would argue that life is art, right? Because everything that you just said, life is art. So you definitely could separate the art from the artist because we all are flawed.
Yeah.
Oh,
like we're all are flawed. Again, going back to what I was saying earlier, like we were flawed and we still get to keep our jobs and stuff like that. Nobody's canceling us. I think the idea of cancel culture stems from somebody wanting to do the right thing or people wanting to do the right thing.
Oh,
but
sure.
it's terrible execution of that thing and manifestation of that. I think that is kind of the issue. Because we're talking about these great movies, we're talking about like fashion, like there are known racist fashion designers, but nobody's boycotting that, nobody's stopping that, or nobody's canceling that. And even down to like Pepsi at this point has gave us 2 racial commercials with like the last year or so. People are still drinking that. It's like I think everything is art. Leave people room to make mistakes.
If they were
let me not
racist
say racist,
or stupid.
I think it's a combination of both. I even
with
the Gucci thing, like they did it twice. Like as far as like the blackface thing.
I can't even understand the thought behind
what
that.
The hell is? Come on, like
twice.
Because I really think it's just lack of thought. Because I can't imagine. I have to give the benefit of the doubt that nobody did that on purpose, because that'd be the dumbest thing in history.
But it's happened twice with the same brand.
But then you're just like,
I think it's a slap in the face.
Who is the idiot designer who's just like, oh, this won't be offensive?
Who the fuck's the quality control? Are you serious?
Because there is no quality control. But even with that, I think it's ridiculous.
And who's your major buyer for Gucci half the time too?
True. But I like to give people the benefit of the doubt too. Leave people room to make mistakes, even if it's a consistent mistake. They are unaware. Who is an African American person in the room at Gucci doing quality control? Like, I'm not sure how that stuff works, but I'm pretty sure they're not rolling the advertisements or rolling the fashion walkthrough through somebody that's an African American. They're saying, yeah, let's I approve that.
Yeah.
That's not, because you got to give them room. You have to change a lot. Like, just leave people room to be. Even with politicians,
we're getting there on fashion, because I love fashion. Fashion for me is like one of the most important things out there. Like,
oh yeah, this guy comes to work dressed.
I just love it because I think it makes you can express your creativity in what you do just by mixing stuff up. Agree. It's your own art.
Going back to life being art.
Yep, it's your own art. It makes you feel better as a person with what you do. It makes you feel better and more confident when you express yourself. Like, it's just not giving up and giving in. But I do see like some changes coming for the positive. Like, it's not there's not as much cliche like Dapper Dan kind of crap coming out, you know what I mean, which is just like, oh, this is just what we expect. It's more like Virgil's stuff. Like, which is
super dope.
Which is amazing. It's just there's so much better things, and there's so many more opportunities coming. And I think Ablo right now is opening up some incredible avenues for other people in the future too that are going to get some really important opportunities. So I'm anticipating the next 5 years are going to be big.
I'm not real big into fashion.
If I'm going over your head, I'll explain later.
Totally did. But it's cool. It's cool. I agree. I think as far as like art, it can be everything around you, and I think there is, like you were saying a bit, that there is a separation from like daily what someone does that can be considered art. And so like if you think of like the dude that comes in and does your flooring or puts your kitchen together, like you could be really sloppy at it, or you have that person that's the perfectionist, that is the artist that comes in and wants to make sure it's good. It's funny because my dad, he is that perfectionist, right? Wants to make sure it's perfect, and I get some of that from him. I have a bit of me that'll be like, just fuck it, it's good enough. But he can't do that, and it's funny, he's been trying to find someone to take over or to help consistently, and he says that's the issue. I can't find anyone that will do it as good as I can, and it drives me nuts because this is my brand, this is what I've built, and I don't want anyone representing me that's not going to do the same quality of work. And I think there's an artistry to that, and I think that a lot of times that gets overlooked. Those day-to-day things that people take for granted, where someone really does put. I had a neighbor, he built cabinets. That's what he did. He custom built cabinets. That was what he did, and he took pride in it, and that was his artistry. So I think it's not limited to those, to the visual and audio and stuff, but I do greatly appreciate that. And I love when there are when stuff makes you think, and it makes you feel right as sensual without being sexual. But like the food thing, and Delano's a big foodie, and I know like that, like I've had meals that I've just been like, oh my God. Like my cousin got married in Chicago at this place called the Girl and the Goat, or the Little Goat restaurant or something. It's decently famous out there in Chicago, but instead of having the traditional like dinner and, you know, family style dinner or whatever, any of that stuff, literally it was like the walking hors d'oeuvres sort of thing. And every single one of them was incredible. And they cooked in a kitchen right there in the middle of the whole place. Like, you could walk up and just sit and watch them cook. And then they would bring it out and then stroll around, and it was delicious. It was probably the best wedding food I've ever had. And to me, that was an artistry. Like, it was delicious. I was like, wow.
It's a people expressing their love.
Yeah.
And handing it to you.
Yep.
Like, which is incredible. Like, and that can be anything. That could be a video. That could be a song. That can be anything like that. It is. It's the big difference between finding a song that you love on an album, and then you look at it and you see that. For me, like personally, if I see that the writing credits are that singer, that it's going to be way different than if I see that the writing credits are some guy named John.
Right.
Because I'm like, this is their art, like, and they're performing their art. It's going to be huge.
I agree, and that's the tough part, right? Is like everyone wants to be a critic, so then it becomes hard to kind of like accept everything. Like, I will look at anything I can and just be like, okay, that's art. You know, like if you say, hey, this is my artistic creation, cool. I mean, I agree with it. Like you said, like a red square or where it looks like they just splashed some paint on a canvas. To me, yeah, like that, where's the emotion? Maybe you were emotional when you were slashing that paint across the canvas, but to me, that, yeah, is less. I don't know where you were at. To me, that doesn't make me feel something. Now, to someone else, that could be
somebody else,
like, holy crap, I love it. Right. So and I'm not going to take that away.
Disregard it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just that's not my cup of tea, but it could be art to anyone, and that's someone expressing their creativity. So yeah, I can get behind it, but I definitely love like the street art. I love the creativity behind some of that stuff. What's crazy things that I look at artistically is like skateboarding, snowboarding. Like I've been like watching so many skateboard videos lately because it's just insane to me as someone that used to skate. Seeing the level, like the fact that someone can control the board, they can flip the board in the air, catch it, and then land precisely on a rail, and then slide down the rail, and then flip the board some more times and catch it and land on the ground and roll away like nothing. Like, that's an insane amount of practice, dedication. That's artistry to me.
No, it's beauty and skill.
It is.
Beauty, I-N, skill.
Right, beauty and skill, for sure.
And that's, you can see that forever. It's one of the reasons why I like to watch the Olympics and even its own thing. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I would never even sit down and watch in my life.
Yep, I agree.
And you just get so intrigued for that once every 4 years moment. You're just like, well, this is great. Like, this is the greatest curler in the... Which, of course, like just like every other American, I get into curling in the Winter Olympics for some reason.
I've been lost. I've gone down the curling hole where I'm just like watching it. Yep.
I just love to watch it. And I don't know why. It's sort of like, I don't know. I sort of feel like I did when I would be like in college in my early 20s and wake and bake on a Sunday and watch golf.
Right.
Because I have no interest in golf whatsoever, but it was just like the ambient sounds and the green grass.
And it just
like hit it, and you're just like very calming, and you're like, this is great. And when they slide those stones, and then then they start brushing it, and it goes in there, and then it hits it and knocks it out, and everybody's like, yeah, and it's just like, whoa, that was cool, I want to do that. Yep. And it's just, you have to enjoy that kind of things in life. Like, if you just complain about everything, what you got? You got nothing.
I agree. Well, that's putting us pretty much at time, and we've sadly lost Delano. He urgently had to go.
I scared him off.
I don't know. He said he liked you quite a few times. I mean, he did.
I don't know how much we got into what we wanted to do, but we can always hit more.
But that's kind of the beauty,
like,
right, of where it goes. To me, is the natural conversations and where it goes, right? And you never know, like, there's a broad topic where that's going to segue into. And to me, that's what's interesting and why I like trying to do this. Yeah. When I have these conversations that aren't really with someone that's like pursuing a passion and, trying to promote themselves, it's just an interesting conversation and getting to people's different perspectives, because I think that is one of the things that we as civilization, we talked about tend to not talk anymore. We don't talk to each other. It's just my opinion versus your opinion, and that's it. There's no common ground or no discussion. So, you know, just trying to...
I think one of the saddest things about today is it's never been easier to talk to somebody, but nobody talks to somebody.
Oh, totally.
It's the most lonely existence that you could ever have right now, especially for youth or anybody else. Like, you have no true friends.
That's probably why we're seeing a lot of these issues pop up, because as connected as everyone is, you've never been more alone.
It's just incredible. You know, I'm lucky enough to be married to a pretty awesome lady, and she has really close group of friends, and I get jealous about that sometimes, because I'm just, you know, for us 40-something-year-old guys, you don't have that many friends.
Well, and that's crazy. Like, and I'm at that point now where, like, I've got friends, but the frequency in which I see my friends or I talk to my friends is way less. I see and talk to my work friends, which are friends outside of work too, more often than I do like the friends that I had before I started where I'm at, you know. And even those friends, like the friends from high school, and I've told my kid this, you know, don't stress about high school, because you're probably not going to talk to the majority of those people ever again. I have like 2 people that I still talk to. That's it.
I have one. That's just the Uno one.
But again, Justin, thank you very much for joining.
Thanks for having me over. I'll come over anytime you want, man.
No problem. Oh yeah, we'll definitely have to do a mental health one too. That'd be awesome. Oh, yeah. But again, thanks for listening to The Get Up. Make sure to follow The Get Up on Instagram and Twitter at The Get Up Show. You can also follow, comment on Facebook at The Get Up Show Podcast. And as always, check out www.thegetupshow.com. And remember, you can listen to The Get Up on all your favorite platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, and now YouTube. Thanks for listening to The Get Up. Make sure to check out thegetupshow.com for more information on this episode's guests. While you're there, check out other episodes, leave a comment, or if you'd like to be a guest on a future episode, shoot an email to contact@thegetupshow.com. Don't forget to follow, like, and share on Facebook at The Get Up Show Podcast. Follow on Instagram and Twitter at The Get Up Show, and subscribe to The Get Up YouTube channel. The Get Up is available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, YouTube, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts.